The Nordic Bronze Age was a prehistoric period in southern Scandinavia, generally dated from around 1700 BC to 500 BC. The Nordic Bronze Age spanned southern Scandinavia and the most northern parts of Germany. The culture was characterized by rich, long-barrow burials, typically with inhumation. Continuity with the Nordic Bronze Age barrow burial tradition, including the use of monumental mound burial types and high-status rich inhumations and depositions, was observed in the earliest phases of the subsequent Nordic Iron Age. The Nordic Bronze Age was also defined by its rich metalwork and various elaborate bronze grave goods. Examples of grave goods included swords, helmets, sculptures, arm rings, and bowls. The economy involved maritime networks and long-distance exchange, such as amber trade from the Baltics, tin from Britain, bronze from Phoenicia, and pottery from Etruria. In terms of iconography and ritual, the NBA featured ship motifs, solar imagery, and animal representations found in rock art and artifacts, typical of animistic religions. There was also a persistent practice of wetland and water offerings and long-term rock art traditions. However, the transition from the Nordic Bronze Age to the Iron Age in southern Denmark and northern Germany was marked by an abrupt decline and cultural rupture around 600 to 500 BC. The later Jastorf culture marked a sharp break from the Nordic Bronze Age, replacing its ornate art, grand burials, and seafaring trade with simpler pottery, cremation traditions, land-based exchange, and cultural traits influenced by Central European and Scythian styles. This abrupt change, without intermediate transitional phases, suggests that the Jastorf material culture was not an autochthonous development from the Nordic Bronze Age. Ancient writers attributed this cultural shift to Samaro-Scythian migrations, known as the Galatae, entering the region. 20th-century anthropologists also noted a northward movement of a long-headed Nordic type similar to Western Scythian elites from the Hallstatt area. Archaeological and genetic evidence suggests a mixed picture. The north remained largely indigenous and evolved into the Nordic Iron Age, while the south experienced a significant influx of new peoples who introduced cremation practices, distinct genetic traits, Celtic and Ironic influences, and a more defined Norse-style religion replacing earlier animistic beliefs. Today, their most direct descendants can be found among the North Germanic peoples, who derive anywhere from 30 to 70% of their DNA from a Nordic Bronze Age source, with the highest contribution being in modern Norwegians, with their remaining genetic admixture being related to the genetically similar, but genealogically, archaeologically, and historically distinct Jastorf/West Germanic-related newcomers. Other Germanic peoples, such as the West Germanic English and medieval Anglo-Saxons, had a smaller Nordic Bronze Age contribution, around 20%, with the rest being Celtic and Jastorf-related. For this video, I've gathered the raw genomes of 4 individuals belonging to the Nordic Bronze Age culture. They are dated 15th to 10th century BC, 3 of them come from Denmark and 1 comes from southern Sweden. I used academic tools, such as admixtures 1 and 2, but also my own tools such as Trait Predictor and MagePlot, to analyze their genomes. According to G25, the closest modern ethnicities to the Nordic Bronze Age are the Danes, Norwegians, and Swedes. On a 2D PCA, the Nordic Bronze Age plots directly over the Danes and firmly in the Northwest European cluster. I used my MagePlot's phylogenetic tree building utility to construct a phylogenetic tree on the basis of G25 coordinates. As you can see, the Nordic Bronze Age plots close to the Danes and Norwegians, in a tight cluster with the rest of the Northwest Europeans. Consult this Mesolithic Padam model. According to this model, the dominant component in the Nordic Bronze Age is the Anatolian Neolithic farmer component at 36%. This amount of Neolithic farmer is actually rather low for northwestern Europe and is more typical for northeastern Europe instead. Nordic Bronze Age scores 27% Eastern hunter-gatherer, which is also very high by modern Northwest European standards. Nordic Bronze Age scored 17% Western hunter-gatherer and 20% Caucasus plus Iranian Neolithic in total. Consult this Bronze Age Padam model. As you can see, the Nordic Bronze Age can be modeled as over half early corded ware, 42% funnel beaker, and 6% pitted ware culture. Both the pitted ware and the funnel beakers were present in Scandinavia before the arrival of Indo-Europeans. However, it is clear that mixing mostly occurred with the farming communities, not the hunter-gatherers. Let's review their trait predictor results. We will start with the Swedish individual, Rise 175. He was predicted to have blue eyes, dark blonde hair, palest skin tone, curly hair, and a Greek nose shape. He was predicted to be a warrior, to have lower odds of autism, higher empathy, lower odds of epithelial cancers, lower odds of autoimmune issues, lower homocysteine levels, shorter telomeres, no risk variants for colorblindness, 2 copies of the farmer CLTCL1 gene variant, 2 copies of the unathletic ACTN3 variant, and likely blood type A. He scored particularly high for odds of myopia, stroke, depression, and glioma. He scored particularly low for odds of type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, AMD, and bipolar type 1. He carried rare risk variants for Parkinson's and Fabry disease. Now let's move on to NEO 590, dated to 13th century BC. He's predicted to have blue eyes, dark blonde hair, white skin, wavy hair, thicker eyebrows, and decisively snub nose shape. He was predicted to be a worrier, to have higher odds of autism, to be lactose intolerant, to have lower empathy, highest risk of epithelial cancer, high odds of autoimmune disease, no colorblindness variants, intermediate odds of obesity, 2 copies of the Hunter CLTCL1 gene variant, longer telomeres, and likely blood type B. He scored particularly high for odds of COS, cataracts, AMD, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer. He scored low for odds of polycythemia vera, multiple sclerosis, depression, atrial fibrillation, eczema, migraine, and erythema nodosum. He carried rare risk variants for Brugada syndrome, FTAAD, panic disorder, and exfoliation glaucoma. Now let's move on to NEO 946, dated to 12th century BC. He is predicted to have green eyes, dark brown hair, olive skin tone, wavy hair, thicker eyebrows, and decisively Greek nose shape. He was a worrier, lactose intolerant, had low odds of autism, high levels of empathy, 2 athletic variants in ACTN3, 2 copies of the farmer CLTCL1 gene variant, high levels of bad LDL cholesterol, low odds of epithelial cancers, high autoimmune risk, high homocysteine levels, low odds of obesity, and likely blood type O. He scored high for odds of rheumatoid arthritis, epilepsy, PBC, type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, thyroid cancer, and testicular cancer. He scored low for odds of polycythemia vera, glioma, Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, atrial fibrillation, baldness, Tourette's, cataracts, gout, and migraine. He carried rare risk variants for Brugada syndrome, FTAAD, and familial Mediterranean fever. Now, let's move on to our final individual, NEO 951, who is a female dated to 13th century BC. She is predicted to have light brown eyes, darkest brown hair, olive skin, straight hair, thicker eyebrows, and a Greek nose shape. She was a worrier, lactose intolerant, had lower odds of autism, higher empathy, 2 copies of the unathletic ACNT3 variant, low odds of epithelial cancers, low odds of autoimmune disease, high homocysteine levels, no colorblindness variants, high odds of obesity, 1 copy of the farmer CLTCL1 gene variant, and likely blood type O. She scored high for odds of epilepsy, vitiligo, baldness, bipolar type 2, thyroid cancer, and testicular cancer. She scored low for odds of Alzheimer's, atrial fibrillation, Tourette's, hemoglobin E disease, and erythema nodosum. She carried rare risk variants for Parkinson's and phenylketonuria. You can purchase their genomes in 23andMe format from the link in description of the video. Links to purchase my products and services will be in description.